What up YouTube, Salvador Brigman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about crowdfunding, we talk about raising money successfully for new projects, new ventures, using Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and specifically, how do you trend well? How do you get traffic? How do you get funding? We talk about all of that on this YouTube channel. All right, so you're planning for the launch of an upcoming crowdfunding campaign. You're kind of wondering, what are some of the things you can do to have a more successful launch? What are some of the tricks out there that you can employ with your project to make it so that you're more successful when you actually go live? And I know that's always a really scary component, is going live with your crowdfunding campaign. So what I want to cover today is some of those things. The first thing I want to talk about is the actual campaign page that you're putting together, because I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of this and having a high quality campaign page. So for example, recently I put together the Upnose Indiegogo campaign page. I'll be sure to link to that campaign page down below. And basically, we went through and we sort of thought about, the thought process was, how can we convey as much information as possible in as few images as possible? The human mind always gravitates towards images and video. The first thing people are going to see when they come to your Indiegogo or your Kickstarter campaign is the pitch video. And in addition, they're going to see the title. They're going to see the subtitle that you have. They're then going to go through the campaign. Their eyes are going to gravitate to different images and headlines and things that you're putting together. So you have to think about, okay, can I include text over these images? What kind of GIFs can I use to demonstrate the product? And also, when it comes to that title, the first thing that people see, what is the benefit? What is the promise behind this product? Every single product out there has some kind of a promise. You're promising to make people's lives better. You're promising that after using this thing, it completely eliminates whatever problem it is that you've been suffering from for the last, whatever it is in your life, months or years. You have some kind of a promise that you are basically telling people that in the future, this is going to happen. And the entire campaign page is supporting that promise and sort of walking people through the sale, if that makes sense. My second tip for you is kind of like a misnomer or a myth when it comes to crowdfunding. A lot of people, we see these very successful projects, people raising hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or even like a nonprofit campaign, a charitable campaign. We see people raising a lot of money, but we don't see what's happening behind the scenes. And this always frustrated me. When I got into the industry in 2012, I was like, well, it's really cool that all these people are seeing success, but what is happening behind the scenes? What are the conversations that are happening? What is their mindset? What are they tangibly doing in terms of the tactics to raise money and get pledges to these different projects? That was the question that was on my mind. And one of the reasons why I started kickstarterforum.org, I started my podcast, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, so I could talk one-on-one with creators and really get inside their head and understand what is it that they are doing. And almost unanimously, all of these projects said the same thing, is that they constructed a pre-launch. They didn't just throw this up there on Kickstarter and hope that the world liked it. Instead, what they did was they warmed up a group of people prior to going live on Kickstarter. They built an email list. They started to do some press outreach. They started to build up social media profiles to really tell their story and get people eager, knowing that something really cool is coming. This is the best possible thing you can do, man, when leading up to your project, no matter what platform you're launching. If you're doing a nonprofit or charitable campaign, warm people up and do a pre-launch. Learn what that means. That word pre-launch is thrown around a lot. Dig into my YouTube videos, dig into some of my content out there, and learn a little bit about what goes into an effective pre-launch for your crowdfunding campaign. I think that crowdfunding has changed so much in the last few years that it's almost ridiculous. And to me, it's insane, the almost micro cottage industry that has grown up around crowdfunding. And I always kind of thought that would happen. Like when I was getting started, that's the reason why I invested so much time in educating people. I want to warm people up to the best practices and such. I've been doing my blog, been writing that for a really long time now. But I was surprised that the cottage industry that has grown around crowdfunding, it's almost kind of common sense now that when you see a project that has raised $500,000, more often than not, that creator, unless it's like the very small number that have grown organically, more often than not, that creator invested money in the success of their campaign. They did things like they hired an agency, they invested money into Facebook ads, they invested money in PR outreach, they hired coaches like me, they hired people to help them. The more that you sort of wrap your head around, okay, if I'm going to want to raise $500,000 and I need to spend about 10% of that on marketing, sometimes more, am I willing to do that? Is something that I can do? to expect that you're just going to raise millions of dollars off of like some kind of idea that you have in your mind that's not really fully put together, that doesn't have a good pitch video, that doesn't have a good campaign, that you haven't really spent the time to build up a pre-launch list or anything like that. It's just kind of a little bit far-fetched. It does happen every once in a while, but it is certainly not the norm. So I want to say for you is that a kind of a trick here that you see behind the scenes is lots of these campaigns are pouring money into Facebook ads and other avenues in order to boost their overall funding, and in that way they then get the attraction of different super backers on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. They get the attention of other organic media outlets, and people just start sharing them more virally on social media. But there's this sort of that fire that they kindle by being willing to budget for their own launch. So if there's anything that you would do if you're trying to have a really big, like a mega successful campaign, you got to create a launch budget, and you also have to bring people on your team like myself in order to sort of guide you through this process and make it so that you have an explosive launch and one that continues to maintain momentum throughout the duration of the campaign. I want to take a second to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Fulfillrite. Fulfillrite is a turnkey solution for helping you get the products out there to your customers and to your backers. Whether you're doing a Kickstarter campaign or an Indiegogo campaign, eventually you're going to have to do order fulfillment and get those rewards out there into the hands of your backers. So what these guys do is they basically offer a streamlined service for you, and they take all that headache away. I highly recommend outsourcing this element of your campaign because it's going to make everything easier in the future. If you want to learn more about Fulfillrite, I'm going to include a link down below in the description of this YouTube video. But in addition, you can also check it out on the web at fulfillrite.com, and you can learn more there. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the video. Now, at the same time, you don't necessarily have to do that. I want to kind of my mission has always been to give people options, to give people avenues that they can go down, because I'm not stupid. Like, I know obviously that it costs a lot of money to hire someone and bring other people on your team and to really build an organization, a tiny organization around your project. And not everyone has the ability to do that. So when I was getting started early in my career, I was like, okay, I want to help as many people as possible. I want to improve the success rates that I see on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. And I think that sharing also some of my marketing and my sales knowledge with people is really going to help them out, and it's sort of sorely needed in this industry. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have my mission be to put out as much free education as possible. Things like my blog, CrowdCrux, things like my podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified, this YouTube channel, very low cost information like my books on Amazon, my books on Audible. I have an ebook out there on tricks and ways to be successful on Kickstarter, which I'll link to down below. I decided to put out lots and lots of free content. And it's not like, this takes me a lot of time, quite frankly, to put out videos like this, to make content for you, to interview people. But I really wanted to dedicate a large span of my time to that because I do think it's important. And my philosophy is you can learn how to do this. I've had people who have said, Sal, I learned so much from your podcast. I've launched this campaign, and this campaign. I owe my success to you. Thank you so much. Obviously, it's a very small portion of their success, but the goal here with me is to share information and to share lessons and teachings that you can use and that you can apply to your campaign. If you don't want to do this yourself, obviously you can hire help, but you don't have to. Nowadays, if you want to, you can spend the time to actually learn how to do a good launch when it comes to a crowdfunding campaign and learn from tips and videos just like this. A final little trick that I'll share with you, and this is actually more of like a sales or marketing tip, is that the more that you can get people thinking about your product and imagining them enjoying the benefit in the future, the more likely it is that they're going to buy whatever it is that you're trying to sell. So by asking questions, by getting people interactive, even in your video, just asking the person a question to get them thinking about something, that's sort of the beginning steps towards making a sale or getting someone to support your crowdfunding campaign, even if it is a donation. Think about how you were impacted by this cause. How does your story, fit in with this cause or this thing or this dire need that needs to exist in society? ask questions in order to focus someone's mind, and in addition, paint a picture of how life could be different. For me, like one of the things I suffer from all the time is that I have really bad lower back pain, and that's because I sit a lot. And I go to the gym, I like to run, but like at the same time, I just have bad posture sometimes, and I sit a lot. So if I could imagine a life without back pain, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. I would love to have a product like that. You want to first get people emotionally bought in to what it is you're doing by asking questions, by talking about potential results, by making promises, by listing benefits, and then you support that huge promise with rational functionality, scientific evidence, with any kind of evidence testimonials that you have that what you've created has worked for other people. Because otherwise, if you don't sort of close the loop with that equation, someone might say, well, yeah, I would love to have my back pain eliminated, but I don't really believe you. I don't really believe the product does what you says, or I don't believe your promises. Promises and benefits rope people in and get people interested. And like, yeah, they raise their hand. They're like, yeah, I want that in my life. And then the actual rationalizations, the functionality, all the stuff that you do to explain why this is different or why this is new or why this is a light speed jump forward from whatever everything else that's been existing in the marketplace, that is really when you make the sale. Because then logically the person's like, oh, okay, like this is a sound decision. I can see what this person is doing. Okay, I'm gonna give this a try because I want the benefits. I like the promise this guy is making to me. It's clear he's done his homework and he's put together a product that does this and this and this. Yeah, I think it's worth a shot. I'm gonna see, because if it is, that's gonna be awesome because that's gonna eliminate my problem forever. Hope you enjoyed this YouTube video. Again, my name is Salvador Brigman. Go and check out some of my other content. I also have another YouTube channel where I talk about traveling, I talk about lifestyle stuff, I talk about business, blogging, etc. So you can also check out my other channel. And you can also see some of the examples of like other videos that I put out there. And also like a glimpse of my personal life, if you will. But on this channel, we mainly talk about crowdfunding. We talk about how to exceed your goal, how to do really well with a launch. And the best thing that you can do is just subscribe to this channel and just, sit back and listen to some of the tips that I have for you, because I put them up every single week. I share new content. I'm always releasing new podcast episodes. Hop on my weekly newsletter. You just sit back, relax, and start enjoying and just literally just download this information into your brain. Just be open, have your ears open, listening to how other projects and how other entrepreneurs are being successful.